let's just delve into episode 6, shall we? Let's give Two Sheds the award for calling it with regard to Adar's origin.
The first orc.
Massive congratulations. Although I have to say, it was obvious.
Yeah, I know.
No, it was obvious from the get-go, but you did call it.
Yes, I did.
That Adar was the first orc. And he was tortured by Morgoth, the dark enemy.
Yes, or Melkor, as his friends know him.
So, in a way, that's one innovation in this series, that we have a character such as this, who's an invented character, a new character.
Yeah.
But he has a history that kind of meshes with the legendarium. So, in that sense, it's one point of victory, as opposed to I don't know how many disappointments this series has given us.
Right. I liked this episode. If this was the worst episode, then the series might have been pretty good.
But it was the best episode.
It's the best episode.
By far.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But only because there were no Harfoots and there was no Durin. The fact that Adar is an interesting character and has an interesting background and is a good actor and has good lines that he drops.
Yeah.
It is actually bad because it draws such a sharp contrast to Galadriel, because she has none of those things. Let's say these writers wanted to make an evil Galadriel. You can make an quote-unquote evil character and make them interesting, and then you will have something like Adar. That's an evil character who's interesting. And as I've said in prior episodes, I think our first episode, that you can make a character that you hate and love to hate, like King Henry VIII in the Tudors series. Yeah. Or so many characters in Viking series. These are characters that are you kind of despise them because they have no moral compass, but you love to watch them. You love to hate them.
Like in Game of Thrones, there were a ton of characters, like Jaime Lannister, irredeemable, but you liked watching him because you can sense like some depth there. Breaking Bad, you had Walter White, or Gus Fring, or any of these characters that they're like despicable human beings, right? But
yeah, you
like them. There's depth that you could.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, if they wanted to because in a sense, like Galadriel came across as despicable. She wants to eradicate the scourge of orc kind, right? So she's got genocidal fantasies.
Genocidal fantasies.
Yeah. So let's love this character that has genocidal fantasies. The episode starts out, Adar's giving this like impassioned speech and saying how we cast off our shackles and we cross the mountains, and the series puts him in a positive light, like he's the bringer of life to these creatures, giving them salvation, because he himself is this corrupted individual, but he's going to redeem them by like bringing them into this new earth. And I don't know, like there's some kind of feeling of redemptiveness to him,
right? But I do think I don't know how this quite fits, but it's Gollum in a way, where Frodo said that I have to believe that he can come back because basically I'm following this path. You know what I'm talking about?
Because if Gollum can't be redeemed, then Frodo can't be redeemed.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So right.
This might be similar with Galadriel and Adar, because I'm going to say his name right, because I'm always saying Adar. It's Adar.
Oh, Adar. I'm sorry.
Adar. Oh, yeah.
Adar.
But you know what I'm saying? So I think, again, this might be a paralleling, like, in a way, the redemptive arc of Frodo, which is...
Right.
Again,
so you're right. I mean, there is that parallel. So like, and that's a good one to notice that the relationship, or the way that we as readers like sympathize in a way with Gollum, he becomes a multifaceted character. He's tortured. He's tormented by his past. You don't entirely despise him. You can't, because he has this burden that he's bearing of his own torture, his own misfortune, really. So Adar, in that sense, bears that same burden. He was, poor guy. He was like captured and tortured. So the the audience is suddenly sympathetic, or I was, to Adar.
I'd be like, oh my God, like I can't believe that you were taken away to these unspeakable horrors that you had to endure.
Right.
Right. And like, and again, that's where like you see Galadriel, like just being such a, it just again,
biatch.
man. Yeah.
Once the audience has, like, our heart has gone out to Adar, right? To a certain extent, because he's talked about his own trauma in his own past and his own torture, and he's almost like trying to redeem not just himself and his own like path or past, but those of his children, the orcs. He's going to, like, you know, they've cast aside their chains and they're going to build a new home. And I almost am like, okay, I know we're pre-programmed to like despise orcs, but the way he's described, I'm like, you know, these are actually poor tortured souls, and it would be nice if they actually had a place to call home where they can just kind of be orcs.
Because, you know what, man, Tolkien never said that orcs were beyond redemption.
No. It's against Tolkien's nature, especially in someone like Gollum. It's against Tolkien's nature to like castigate or cast like judgment on someone as irredeemable, or as an irredeemable bad person. Everyone's got, and you're not supposed to, like, that's why, you know, like we said, Frodo, he couldn't kill Gollum when he had a chance because he felt pity for Gollum and he felt like but by the grace of God go I, or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So anyway, so when Galadriel doesn't give
Adar, can I make one more point?
Oh yeah,
too?
Of course.
Tolkien like rewarded his characters who showed pity. You know what I'm talking about? There was always like a like if Bilbo would have killed Gollum,
right?
Then the ring would have never got destroyed. You know, I mean, it's always those acts of kindness always get repaid.
Right. Yeah, there's always those moments between Bilbo and Gollum, and between Frodo and Gollum, of like that feeling of like this poor wretched soul. You know,
and honestly, even Sam, as much as he hated Gollum, he took pity on him and turned him loose.
In contrast to all this, we have someone like Galadriel, who says she's vowing to eradicate the scourge of orc kind. And then Adar, in one of his brilliant lines, challenges her perspective by saying, "It would seem I'm not the only elf alive who's been transformed by darkness."
Yeah.
So he's taunting her, and he's showing, and he goes on to say, "Perhaps your search for Morgoth's successor should have ended in your own mirror."
Again, I'm like,
I gotta give it credit. This credit, like, I've been.
Where was this writing this whole series?
I've been destroying this series like this whole time, and I'm like, okay, that's a good line. Boom, great line. Unfortunately, it makes your lead character look terrible. Yeah, and not in a good way. Not in a like, ooh, I want to see what happens to her. It's like, it just makes me hate her more, and not like I love to watch. It's not like I love to hate her. I'm annoyed by how much I hate her because she's like the main character. Yeah. You know, it's just.
And you know what the thing is no one, I would bet if we talk to everybody who talks about this series on YouTube or in the world, I think everybody wants this series to be well done. No one wants this series bad. Like they like, again, I don't think it brings any joy to anybody to
point out all the problems.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing it because it's like, it's more of a catharsis than anything.
That line was so good, and we were like, where has this writing been? Someone on their team is capable of a good line, and again, it's like it was came from the mouth, surprise, of Adar, our favorite character, who we called from the beginning, his origin. And it just made Galadriel look like she like her whole quest then is to destroy the orcs and Sauron, and it just I'm just saying, like, it's been hard for me to muster up interest in her passionate quest. Like, I'm like Lord of the Rings, I'm like I'm right there. I'm like, yeah, let's destroy this ring. It sounds like a great idea. But with her, her main goal is like she wants to destroy Sauron, and I'm like, yeah, but you haven't really seen Sauron yet, and the only person you really seem to be at odds with is this Adar guy, who seems totally cool. Why don't you just make friends with him? And yeah. So I haven't been like super passionate about her, like her desires or goals in this series. Yeah. And it just makes me even less interested in her desires and goals.
The thing is she doesn't even come off as kind. You know what I'm talking about? It's like she just doesn't come off as sympathetic. And again, if this is like an artistic decision, I don't agree with it. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? No, it is a bad decision. It was a bad decision. This is the maddening thing about this series is, and again, this is my love-hate relationship. Well, actually, my hate relationship with Rian Johnson is that, like they'll do something really, really, really cool, surrounded by a bunch of crap. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like you are capable of making something really, really brilliant, but you're getting in the way of yourself. I like the idea that they're in like the Morgul Vale or what. I'm not sure where they're at. I mean, like
it's the plain of Gorgoroth or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. It's like all of a sudden you see I was like, oh my god, they're in Mordor.
Right.
That's cool.
The Southlands. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
The fact that this key, it's like you have a key to your Audi. This is a key to like your volcano.
Here's the thing.
Like, okay, just turn the key and it revs up my
volcano.
Revs up my volcano.
Okay, so and that being said,
kind of stupid, but kind of cool. I don't know. In a comic booky way, kind of cool, right?
Okay, that being said, like when because I went back and watched it again because I'm like, all right, I think this warrants a second because this actually is. I mean, I was mildly entertained by it. I mean, I was entertained. I thought this was a good episode. I liked the battle. I think they're doing a fantastic job with the orcs, our favorite things.
Right.
I was like, but how did that Waldreg get the sword key? When the Númenóreans were coming up over the ridge, Adar came out and said, Waldreg, I have a quest for you. Or I have something for you to do. And then they cut away. It didn't like, but clearly, he was giving him the sword, whatever they call it. So I mean, you didn't see it, transfer, but it made sense because at the end I was like, how did this guy get the sword? The first time I watched it, I think they did that so they could. I think Adar, wrapped up that the hatchet or whatever.
Yeah.
As a MacGuffin, so they chased him, and Waldreg could go and do what he needed to do.
As cool as that was, having the key unlock Mount Doom, and in some ways it was cool, but if you think about it just a little bit more, it actually is really stupid.
It's really stupid.
In the sense that who would contrive a device like a key shaped like a sword that unlocks the volcano? Like, it seems like that would be an enormous engineering feat. Like, okay, I have this, I've constructed this keyhole. You put your sword in, you turn it, it unlocks this mechanism and it's like this. What's it called? A Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking up.
It's like it's like a Rube Goldberg machine, and it's like this moves that, and the mouse trap falls open, and and the water gushes in, and it goes down into the gully and up into the crater, and the mountain erupts, and therefore, we have Mount Doom. And I'm like, okay, so imagine you've created this Rube Goldberg machine, and then after all that work and all that engineering, you're like, oh, I lost the key.
I know. I need a key for this.
Don't you think you'd make a backup?
Yeah, but
I mean, you know what I mean.
Don't you think they'd be like, okay, the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna summon up something to destroy this dam that's at the top of this thing, and then bypass everything else. It's really, really, really dumb.
You should have a keychain,
right?
For your hilt.
Yeah, and the whole idea that blood kind of it was really weird, and again, it's like I can just see okay, let's do this. It was pretty cool. Okay, I mean, I like the whole. It looked great.
My inner 13-year-old was thrilled.
Exactly. Stone 10th graders.
Yep.
They're like, it'd be the best thing in the whole. Dude, it'd be the best thing in the whole world.
Oh, dude, yeah, the hilt is like a key.
Sword is a key,
and it unlocks the mountain.
Yeah, so dumb. But that's okay.
But I also liked it because at the end it signaled a victory of the orcs over Galadriel, who was rained down upon with brimstone, and I was like, yes. I hate to be that guy, but I'm like, I am literally rooting against Galadriel because of all these reasons I've just cited.
You are that guy. Okay, that being said, I enjoyed this episode way more than
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, because something
it was
happened.
Still dumb, and still like there were major like writerly and story problems, like the idea that all those horses and all those army men from the Númenóreans can fit into those 3 little ships and get there in such a short amount of time.
I know that, but here's the thing. Here's the thing is that when something is done moderately well, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like
you don't notice those things.
I can be like, all right, that's fine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was way more forgiving with this episode than I have been because I'm like, all right, this is pretty cool, and it went somewhere. The whole payoff with Adar, with his speech at the end, and the way that the guy and we should probably know his name because I'm just going to call him Benjamin Stark. But
who?
Adar, like the actor
Adar.
who does Adar.
Oh, I did know. What's his name? Mowley.
Mowley.
Okay,
cool.
Molly. Maybe it's like Welsh where the W's not pronounced. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, and again, the way that he delivered it, it's like, man, I'm good with that guy. I liked him as Benjamin Stark. I didn't even recognize him as Benjamin Stark in this because Benjamin Stark was in
That's because he's a good actor. He can transform before your eyes.
Yeah, he can take shitty dialogue and make it his own. But my point is that I overlooked a lot of stuff in this episode because I'm like, oh man, yeah, this is cool. Like the whole the Rube Goldberg waterfall thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I it was a little weird because I think if you put tons of water into lava, it does create a bit of a something happens. But I think it's just like steam. Right, I don't know that it would actually make a volcano erupt, but I'm not a volcanologist, so I don't know exactly how that
magic
works.
Water.
It just seemed a little bit like, how did they know? Did they test drive this thing? You can't really test drive it, right?
Maybe I don't know. They had to do something. I mean,
And okay, one more thing. It just is a little. Now, see, I'm no longer looking for faults in this because it does have the redemptive Adar story. But the fact that he was digging the tunnel, everyone thought, oh, he's looking for the sword. He's looking for the hilt. And maybe he was, but he was also digging the tunnel to put the water into the mountain. Right? Because it formed a conduit for this water. When the water was released, it went into Mount Doom. Right? And I'm like, it's as if you were building a mansion and you have a nice little keyhole at the front of your mansion for the key. You have the key and the lock mechanism. Everything's all fancy, but you forgot to install the plumbing underneath the building. Don't you think that would be the key? There's a key and a nice thing that you. Don't you think that would be the last thing, and all those tunnels would be dug before I don't know. It just seemed weird. It seemed backwards.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Basically, it's
you're building the roof before you build You've built the roof before you built the foundation.
I mean, that's kind of weird, but because look, Tolkien's not infallible. You can probably look at a lot of stuff that that happened all over the place. I'm like, well, again,
in my view, the only thing Tolkien was fallible in is that he sold his property to some unscrupulous people.
Yeah, sure. No, but the whole age-old conundrum, whatever, is oh, why didn't they just have the eagles fly them to Mount Doom? It's well, yeah, I
could have done that.
Point. you could have done that. Like,
Right.
I bet you he could have written away where the Eagles like could have.
They were busy that day.
Yeah, they were busy. So, like I said, there's a lot of like, and the whole stand by the gravestone when the thrush knocks on the last light of the setting sun of Durin's day will shine upon the keyhole.
That seems overly contrived.
Yeah, again, it's kind of like just luckily enough, we're here on Durin's day.
But I think our point stands is that you can overlook all of these clunkinesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you like your characters.
Exactly. If you want to see them succeed.
If you like the story, you're rallying behind the characters. And if you want to see them succeed, you'll overlook all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and again, I do like the idea. Like, I do like that when they were doing the showdown inside the inn, which again was a dumb place. Like that's the keep. You're gonna go to like a wooden structure with orcs carrying flames and fire, and that could set this thing ablaze. Like, and you're all trapped in here. That's dumb. You know what I'm talking about? But,
Right. Hey, did orcs ever carry torches in Tolkien?
Not really.
I don't know
the only
that they
time
ever
I
did.
think because they could see, they had night vision.
Well, not just that, but I mean, it seems kind of odd that they're so allergic to the sun, and yet having a big flaming brand in their face is like fine. You know what I mean?
the orcs can see at night. I mean, that's like why the
Well, I know why
goblin
they probably wanted to have all those torchlight ceremonies because of the political ramifications of it's just like Charlottesville and the alt-right rally of 2017.
Maybe I'd like to think that it's just more of like they're just kind of like in the Scouring of the Shire, someone lit a bonfire to liven things up a little bit or whatever, So I mean, maybe it's just like, we're gonna go and burn stuff down. But the point is, like, they're burning stuff down. They got torches.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't evolved
again.
And I mean, it could be explained away too, like the orcs haven't evolved into where they really see in the dark, that they haven't lived underground long enough. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know.
But they get really bad sunburn.
Yeah, they get really bad sunburn, but they live in the shadows. I don't know. But the point is, like, you can explain that away.
Right.
But,
and you're, like we said, you give people a lot more, like a little bit more slack, cut them some slack. If you're down for their characters, you're like grabbing the storyline by the reins and like, I'm committed to this story and I love these characters. If you're not on board with any of that stuff, then you're just gonna pinpoint all these little unbelievable or clunky, unbelievable details, and you'll lose yourself in like, well, why'd they do it that way? And I think these last 5 episodes we've been mainly concerned with like, oh, this is dumb, this is bad writing, this is clunky, this is awkward, this is a happy accident, it's a fluke, and all those things are true, but this episode, it was the best one for these reasons we stated. But
right, and mainly because, how did you put it when we were talking earlier? Galadriel took the L.
Yeah, Galadriel took an L, and Adar took a W, and I was happy to see it personally. And there were no hard foots.
Adar pulled that one out like to equate it with hockey. It's like down to the last 2.5 minutes, and or like we get Adar got the 5-minute major called on Galadriel and scored 4 times in 5 minutes.
Adar got the rhetorical W by telling her that look in the mirror, Galadriel, if you want to see the Dark Lord, casting a shadow on an elf.
Yeah.
And then he got the actual battlefield W by Mount Doom erupts and lays her plans to waste. So
yeah. Again, I
hate to be so anti-Galadriel, but
I know. Again, man, I
love Galadriel in the books. Yep. Yeah.
I hope they redeem her.
I just feel bad because I've been totally criticizing Galadriel, right? But I saw an interview with the actress. She seems so sweet. She seems so nice and like sweet-tempered, really nice, likable. I'm sure she's a fine actress. But I'm sure the director made her be this way, and no one likes it. So it's not her fault. That's all I have to say. That she seemed like a really great person. I mean, none of this quality that she portrays on screen carries over into real life, as far as I could tell. So every time she appears on screen, I'm like, ugh. But seeing her in real life, I didn't get that feeling at all.
But the point is this episode with Adar, if we don't
Adar?
see him, Adar, God darn it, Adar, because he deserves respect because that guy's killing it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I would give this with different writing. If you get people that if they change the writing and listen to like the people who you know want this to succeed, we want this to succeed.
Yeah.
You know, make it good. I'm invested at least until the next season. Right. Now.
Right. I mean, make it a Adar. We do an Adar spinoff.
I would do an Adar spinoff.
A story arc of like this poor tortured elf, and the world's against him, and he's facing the mud, but he rallies his wits.
Let's call him Anakin Elfwalker.